All right, settling in on this Canada Day. Nick Kiprios, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, and Jake the Snake Schultz. July 1st, NHL signing season. We're live on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus. This hour of Real Kipper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Sit back, relax for the next couple hours. Have a cold one or two.
Pizzetta, EliteProspects.com.
The news will continue to filter in. We will go through all of the names in the next 2 hours, so don't worry about it. We'll have some good conversations on what we like, what we don't like. Clearly, the biggest story of the last 24 hours, Sammy.
Yeah.
The official news that Mitch Marner was, in fact, signed and traded. Not often that we see this time of year, but it definitely happened the way we probably thought it was going to happen.
Full credit to you for a non-insider. I think you nailed his exact contract and the trade. So, congrats there.
Yeah.
By the way, Pizzetta, 2 years times $787,000 for the Toronto Maple Leafs. My boy Pizzetta, my son.
In the city of Toronto, with the cost of living, he'll owe money at the end of
That's a tough
this
one.
contract.
That's a tough one, but he'll be okay.
It is really, really tough
He's not going to have to
city.
pay for any meals.
Tanner Janot in Boston, 5 years. 3.4 million, according to
What is what is going on? Like, he's been bounced around like crazy. He's been valued beyond belief, either in
got traded for an entire draft class from Tampa.
a draft class, and even this contract. Like, I like him and I get what he brings.
Yeah.
But every time I watch this guy, it's like it's not a full meal value here.
A little quieter than you would hope.
I get he can beat people up. I get he's scary
He
when he
can
fights.
beat people up. He can score 20 goals. He can do things.
But he not enough for anybody to want to keep him for very long.
No, I had said that I would like the player for the Leafs, but now that they have discount Tanner Janot.
Dollar store
Janot and Pizzetta. Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay, the Mitch Marner
Right.
era in Toronto is officially over. And now, tell me something. Is this something that we're going to see over the next week, the next summer, or the next year, that people will continually discuss this to the point where we have to crown him a hero or a villain, or is this just going to die down?
I think everyone is justified in getting it out of their systems right now. Like this.
That's a good way of putting it.
Right. I mean, this is, God, it's led to a real head here, and we finally got movement. We know he went to Vegas. I think there's been a lot written. Luke Fox wrote an excellent piece on him on sportsnet.ca, which I highly recommend you check out. I know The Athletic did a couple. Down Goes Brown. Sean McIndoe did a piece where he argued with himself about Marner being both a hero and a villain. So yes, that's all happening right now. I do think that this is all going to soften with time for Marner and the perception of his time here in Toronto. I think a pretty good kid who probably took it pretty hard, and it goes two ways and all that. But I think once it works through this initial assessment, I think it'll be okay.
I mean, Vince Carter has his number hanging in the rafters at
kinda what I'm
Scotiabank
thinking,
Arena,
Sammy.
so anything's possible.
Yeah.
But I do think for the first couple of years of this, it'll be pretty bad, I would imagine.
I think, you're right.
I don't know. I don't know who actually goes to games versus like the online
That's
perception.
a good point.
Because I think, any social media for any fan base of any team, it's not going to be pretty for a lot of this stuff. And I think the disconnect between who actually attends games versus who is sending, Instagram DMs and commenting, it's a very different group of people. So I'm sure there'll be a light smattering of boos when he returns to Scotiabank Arena.
It might be stronger than that.
I don't know. Maybe I'm way off on this, but I really don't think, like, half those people are just, they're at getting
even
red.
know
They're
the game's
getting
on.
red wine. Like I think it's a very different. Maybe from the upper deck, the booze will be coming down, but I can't help but sit here and say that it's a pretty bad day for the Leafs and for Mitch Marner in terms of just legacies on both sides. It's tough. So
No winners.
no winners.
I think the direct correlation between boos or cheers is directly related to where the success of the team is at that point.
Great point.
Right?
Yeah, like if the team's struggling. then
First of
it's
all,
his
is
fault.
Vegas coming in October, or are they coming in March? Are the Leafs comfortably leading the Atlantic Division? Are they chasing a wild card spot? Where are the Leafs? Did they just win 4 in a row? Did they lose 4 in a row when he comes in? That to me will be the biggest telling tale of where they are reminded when Mitch Marner comes in town, and if he's part of the problem of what's happening in that present moment.
But if the relationship with him and the reaction to him is that lightly affected by things like schedule, performance, whatever, I think that's a good thing long term for Mitch. As things soften and you get away from it, if it is in the first year affected by how they're doing at that moment, I think long term it's a good thing. The Vince Carter thing is why I'm talking.
Yeah.
Mitch didn't come out and say F the city of Toronto or anything like that. He didn't want to be
I
here,
can't
didn't want
remember.
to play for the team.
Carter's was really ugly.
Carter's
Vince
was uglier
Carter?
than this
Yeah.
by a substantial amount.
I can't remember. Just jog my
Wow.
memory.
He
I mean,
basically quit on
He was like, I'm not going to dunk anymore. He was telling opposing players their plays, like on the inbounds. Like he was publicly quitting on the Toronto Raptors.
Like, I think Mitch didn't succeed, but he tried to succeed.
Why is his? Why would he?
Kipper, that's a great question,
his-
buddy. How much time you got?
Why is his name up in the rafters?
Because
A lot of people don't think it should be.
I think because they won. The Toronto Raptors won, and it softened the blow of everything. And it was just kind of, you zoomed out and you're like, oh, well, there was some good times with them and the Carter effect and like all
Yeah,
these
and-
players and.
And teams want to celebrate their past because it ties those fans to the franchise with nostalgia, right? It keeps people from this generation who grew up watching Mitch, a 19-year-old right now. 20 years from now, that guy's 39. He's telling people, you should have seen the plays this kid used to make, whatever. It'll get there for Mitch. It isn't there now, and I don't think it should be there now.
It's going to be much like the Vince Carter thing, where there's going to be a certain faction of the fan base, and there was a ton of people who I argued with vehemently.
Yeah.
I argued
works.
I argued with them that there's no way it should come around. There's no way it should come around. But there's a huge portion of the fan base that said he had a huge effect on the Raptors, all that. And there's a big portion of the Toronto Maple Leafs fan base that still thinks that Marner this and Marner that. They shouldn't let him go, all that. And it'll just be one of these things that we discuss for the rest of our time. It's it's sports talk. That's what happens.
And now it's Nick Waugh, baby.
Well,
I hope that kid also has, fans should not tie Nick Waugh to Mitch Marner at all. He's a player they acquired. There's nothing to do with Marner.
You'll remember this 1-for-1 trade 20 years from now.
Yeah, you will remember it because
Just for the
that's.
sole purpose.
well, just that graphic.
Yes,
the
the
graphic
graphic.
that they put out, the tough graphic.
It's
just
Would you have passed on that graphic?
Well, Vegas put it out.
Vegas is like, oh, here you go. Like, yeah, this is,
But it's
a little
like,
different than Rantanen.
had we been here, sitting here